Hi everyone, good morning, good evening to all. Okay, so yesterday we discussed about landing tables and staging tables, how to create them. Online, sorry, not lab, class. Yeah.
Sunil, I don't think we have created any staging tables.
No, staging tables we have not created because to create staging tables, we need some more exercise. I'll show you.
Okay.
Because before we move ahead to staging table, right, we have a lot of things to learn. I mean, we need to learn what is how to create the source systems, that we need to learn, because staging table should be created once source systems are done, because staging table are per source system. So there's a lot of time for that.
Yeah, Sunil,
Yeah, Venkat.
like when I tried to log in, I could not log in. When I tried to log in, it is saying like contact contact the admin. Okay, I don't know. I mean,
You're getting an error when you're logging into this tool, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you do one thing, you use the Hyperion file that I have sent you. Okay, you do not download it from here. I think you have taken it from here, right? You're taking it from
Yeah, yeah, Hyperion. So,
GNLP file. You have taken it from here. Then there's a small bug. Okay, I have changed this file and I have sent it to everyone. So if you directly access that file
did you send it via mail or where?
via mail, otherwise what you do is, the bug is very small bug. What the bug does is, you need to edit this file in the notepad. Then you copy this IP address. This is the IP address. You copy this IP address. Okay, and you go below. Here in the server name, for you it will be written MDM minus PC. Okay, you replace that with IP address and save it, and
Okay,
then you open
okay,
it, then it's going to work. That's the small
okay,
bug that you have in version 10.
okay.
Okay, now let's move on. There are many properties that are there in the base objects and in the landing tables. Okay, let's try to complete the landing tables first because it's very small. So landing tables, let's go to the party landing table. See, um, these properties has default unique and all that. I'll tell you when I go to the base objects. So whatever things we are having in here, right, the same option we have in base object. So we'll talk about these options in the base object. Okay, so here the only important property is contains full data set. Okay, and apart from that, all the things are normal. Contains full data set. What is contains full data set? See, if you open the architecture, see, this is the architecture. In the architecture you see a, I'm muting everyone, I'm getting some disturbance. Okay, so in this architecture, while you load data from landing to the staging table, before it gets loaded into the staging table, actually the delta detection happens. So delta detection is a feature that is useful when you have full files. When you are getting full files from the source, then you would use delta detection technique. So what you do here is, if you want to enable delta, then there are two steps in enabling delta. Okay, we are not going to learn that now because that is planned for later, but you remember the first step is uh, this property contains full data set. Okay, this is the first property and this must be enabled. Okay, this must be ticked on, so this must be enabled. Contains data set, this must be done, and it should be done in where? The lending table properties. Lending table properties. Okay, and the second thing is in the configure delta in staging table. Okay, so when we'll create the staging table, then we'll go to the second process and we'll learn that. But remember, there are two steps to enable delta processing, and this is the first step. What happens if you do not enable this first step? What if you do not enable? What will happen? What will happen is you will not be able to configure the delta. Okay, so that's simple. Just take the log. Okay, so if you want, you can remove and you can set this option. By default this is ticked on, so you, if you want to keep as it is, that's fine. If you want to change it, that's fine. If you're getting the delta directly, then you do not need to tick this option. So yeah, that's about the landing table. In the landing table you do not have any such great properties. The only important property is what I told you, but in here there are many properties. We'll try to learn this one by one, and we'll also try to learn the base objects. What are the base objects that are created in the backend? Okay, we'll try to study these base objects. You should you don't need to know most of them, but you should know the name. I mean, you should remember the name and definition that you must remember. But you will not be interacting with most of the tables during, I mean, normally you will not be interacting. So in, you can see in any base object the properties are common. Okay, so these properties are specific to base object. It means that for every base object you need to configure these properties. Okay, this first of all, in here itself, the basic and advanced, you have many very good properties. They really what you can say, they impact the performance and the style of execution. Okay, so it's important that you understand these parameters, columns. Okay, so we'll go one by one. First of all, I'll tell you on a high level basis what is all this. Columns is basically all the columns that you create. Here you will enable the trust validation. I'll tell you what all this is. Trust, unique validation, null values and all that I'll tell you. Then cross reference. So this is just a read only information. Okay, so what this contains is the cross reference table name. So party cross reference is party underscore xref. So cross reference is always base object underscore xref. So this is just static information. History, if you enable history, then you will see the table name here. Okay, so history, we need to enable it here. You need to enable the history here. For example, if I enable the history here, okay, you can see a new table, that is c party underscore hist got created. So you might have understood as of now that this is optional. Okay, so if you want to configure, you can configure, otherwise you don't need to configure. And what this history table contains is, this contain history of all the changes that happen to the base object. For example, there is a customer, and any change means anything that happens, then immediately uh, this information is stored in the history tables. So that's the objective of the history table, and this table will grow very big because very frequently you will have changes. So you need to you need to take care of this table manually, because Informatica MDM does not provide any mechanism through which you can delete data from this history table. Okay, so you would have to delete that records from this table manually, otherwise this can grow very big and it will create huge issues. Okay, and cross reference, I already told you the concept of cross reference. Okay, this is a very most important table. I would say this is more important than the master data itself. Okay, because this is the table that completes the definition definition of the MDM, that is 360-degree view of a customer. And see, history table, it's similar to the audit table only. That's the main purpose of history, is for basically auditing. I mean, if you want to track changes, so that's nothing but the auditing. Okay, so that's the same thing. and match and merge setup. So this we are going to learn when we try to configure the, you can see there are many properties. Plan, there is path, match columns, match rule sets, many properties are there. So this will take just 2-3 classes or more than that just to configure match and merge setup. Okay, and validation rules, this is about, I'll tell you what is validation. And here you set up the, let me go to the architecture. In the architecture I talked about this, that is the outbound. So how you publish data to third-party systems, downstream application, that happens here in the message trigger setup. Okay, so see, if you want, there are two modes of publishing data. One is batch mode, another one is real time. If you are talking about batch mode, then we are talking about an ETL. Okay, but if we are talking about real time publish to third parties, then we are talking about this option. Okay, so here we have to add a message trigger and we have to do that. And relationships, that we already explored. Okay, so basically it's used to create relationship between two base objects. Okay, again I'm telling you there is no concept of relationship for landing table or staging tables. Okay, it's only for the base object. And whatever staging tables you want, you have to create them here in this staging table. So you might have understood as of now that a staging table cannot be created outside a base object. If you want to create a staging table, you first have to create the base object, and inside a base object you need to create the staging table. And this is external matching, I'll tell you what this is, and custom index setup. So first of all, let me open this document. Okay, let's try to go through these tables. Some of the tables you will not understand, some of the tables will study in details later. For example, this match table and this strp table, especially this match table, it's very important to understand matching. So these two tables you must master, I mean you must remember all the column names and everything. And remaining this table underscore ctl, this is this talks about the survivorship rules. So when let's say you're getting one John Smith from one source and you're getting another John Smith from another source. Okay, let's say that their attributes are somewhat different. So when both record gets matched and when finally it will try to merge, so in the merge, the for every column based on the trust score, the survivor will be calculated. For example, let's say which is the best apple and which is the best orange. So that's the example. So here this contains which is going to survive this table, okay, and which is going to lose. One second. See, if you're unable to find the username, if you, let's say if you get confused, what you do is, I'll tell you how you can track it. You go to databases, log in here, okay, and then see the physical name. For example, I want to log into online 3. This is where I want to log in. So the name is ors underscore online 3. Go to the check the physical name and then go here ors underscore online 3 and log in. So anyway, CTL we are going to learn later when we go to the, what do you say, uh, why there are no columns. Okay, we did not create any columns. Sorry. Okay, anyway, so this contains lot of columns that you will see later, so that's not important as of now. Just remember that this talks about the survivorship, which is going to survive among the records. Okay, and this DRTAY table is used completely internally. You don't need to understand much here. Just remember that this is used in tokenization. So and tokenization will normally be done, or you can say tokenization Okay, you don't know tokenization. So tokenization, just remember that tokenization is a process and it's a part of matching. So when you say tokenization, just you correlate that with the matching. So tokenization is a part of matching, and whatever records that will be tokenized or matched will be stored in this, okay, temporarily. So that this is like a flag table. And external match input table and external match output table. So first of all, as of now, what do you know about the architecture? How is the architecture designed? The data is loaded from the stores to the landing, then cleansed and then loaded to the staging to the base object. So what happens, what is there in the base object? Base object, all the duplicates will be loaded initially, but the consolidation indicator will be 4. Okay, and gradually deduplication happen, that is match and merge. So that match and merge process will remove the duplicates. That is the normal architecture, that's what you know. Okay, there is another concept called as external matching. You see here, there is another concept called as external matching. External matching means you match the records external to the base object. So what is the meaning? The meaning here is, let's compare. So normal matching and external matching. In a normal matching, let's say I give you an Excel sheet with 5k customers. Okay, I give you an Excel sheet with 5k customers, and my requirement is I want to know how many customers among 5k are already present in MDM. You understand this question? Let's say I am the business person. I give you an Excel sheet. You are a technical person with 5k customers, and what I want to know is, my requirement is how many customers among 5k are already present in MDM. So my requirement is, let's say there is a record named Sunil here. So I want to know if Sunil is present in MDM or not. So, and the requirement is without loading, without changing anything in the MDM, without changing base object data. So you understand, right? My requirement is, I want to know how many customers among these 5 are already present in MDM, but I don't want to change the base object. So in a normal matching, how do I do that? In the normal matching, I have to, there is no other way. The only way is I have to load the 5k records into the base object and then match. I don't need to merge it because that's not the requirement. The requirement is just to identify the match. Okay, so I don't merge it here. But the problem is, what will happen here? So let's say previously you have 10 million records. Okay, so now after you load the data, how much it will become? 10 plus 5k, 10 million plus 5k, that's what it will become. But that is where external matching comes into picture. External matching is a concept where you are not going to load data into the base object. What you'll do is, you load data into base object underscore EMI table instead of base object. So instead of loading data into the base object, you load that into the base object underscore EMI. Okay, and then what you do is, you match base object underscore EMI with base object data. So you match the base object underscore EMI. So what you do is, you load how many customers here? You load 5k customers here. You load 5k customers, instead of loading in the base object, you load it here in the EMI table. And then what you do is, you match these customers, that is 5k customers, 5k, with the base object data, that is 10 million. 10 million customers. And then what you do, the results are stored in base object underscore emo table. Okay, the results are stored in the base object underscore emo table. So that is the concept of this process, is called as external matching. External matching, I already gave you a business example. This is a practical example where you need external matching, and this is how you use it. It's very simple. Instead of loading data into the base object, you directly load it into the, and how do you load data into the bo underscore emi? To load data in this bo underscore emi, you have to use an ETL. Okay, using an ETL, you load the data directly. You are not going to use a landing table, staging table here. Okay, there's no concept of landing table, staging table in external matching. You load the data directly here, you match it. There is a separate job for external matching. Okay, there's a separate job. You can see this is the job for external matching. So you just need to run the job, and the result, that is, if Sunil is matching with any other record in MDM or not, that results will be stored in this EMO table. So that is the concept of external matching, and that is what this underscore EMI and underscore EMO table means. Okay,
So if the client doesn't have an ETL tool, how to load the data into EMI?
there's no, I'm just said ETL, so you can use like procedure or PL SQL or direct SQL loader or anything. You don't have to do it only via ETL or something. The full
Okay, hey
form,
Sunil.
yeah.
So this use case is just to make sure that the data is present in MDM or not, right? Nothing more than
This use case is to make sure, yeah, that data is present or not with the MDM. That's correct. This is a, I mean, this you will also get it very often. Okay, but this will be done in a separate environment. Okay, you might have guessed by now that this doesn't have any meaning in development environment, because in development environment you are not going to have any production like data, and this cannot be done in production as well, because in production you are not supposed to access the data. So this is normally done in a research kind of environment, something like a fast line environment, or something like an any kind of research activity that you do, right? So it's similar to like a pre-production environment, or this can also be done in UAT, user acceptance test environment.
okay.
You could
Yeah.
do that, but this is only with a special request from the client.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, and someone asked me what is the full form of EMI. EMI is external match input, EMO is external match output. Okay, so that is EMI EMO, external match input, external match output. HMRG table. See, in this architecture, where do we do the merges? See, and yeah, that's a good question. When do we go for a normal matching and when do we go for an external matching? See, the requirement is very clear. I put it very clearly. When do you do normal matching? You normally do normal matching only. Normal matching means, so normally you will go with simple rule. I mean, whatever is there in default, right? So you will normally go with that. But the place where you don't want to impact the base object, only in those cases you will go for external matching. Okay, so frankly speaking, in production, external matching has no use. You understand, right? In production, or in production like environments, or in development environments, external matching does not serve any purpose. The reason is, external matching will not load any data into the base object, but in production we want the data to be loaded. Okay, because otherwise it's meaningless. I mean, that's the main purpose of running a production. You want data to be loaded in the base object. So this is completely clear. This is not for production or development. This is only needed if you have a separate research like environment, like fast line or pre-production, or sometimes if you do not have infrastructure, this could also be done in a UAT environment. Okay, but normally in a separate environment where the requirement is that you should not do any change to the base object. You understand, right? You should not do any change to the base object, and you should find out the common customers that are there in your file and the customers that are there in MDM. What are the common customers? Using what? Using the fuzzy matching or the matching logic in MDM. Okay, so hope that's clear. Let's go back. See, in this architecture, you see that after data is loaded here, you do the match and the merge. Okay, so now when you do the merge, when the merging happens, the history of those merges, for example, let's say Sunil got, and there was a record Sunil K, and there is a record called as Sunil KM. So let's say your system identifies that these three are duplicate records. So what it will do, it will merge them. So in this base object underscore HMRG table, HMRG means history of merges. History of merges. So in this base object, the history will be stored. For example, this is 1, let's say row ID, this is 2, this is, let's say 3. So here it will contain 1 got merged with 2, and 3, and you can see 3 or uh, 3 got merged with 2 or something, whatever it is. The survivor will be 1, but this will contain a row level information on what are the individual what are the matches that happened. This will contain the history of that. So this is quite useful, this table. The reason is, if you want to backtrack that, if you want to backtrack a particular customer, and if you want to find out from what are the total from where it got merged and all that, then you can easily find out using the history merges. That information you can also find it in the cross reference, but more specifically, if you want to create a reporting or so on the total number of merges that has happened, then this table is quite handy. This table is demoted. Demoted means it's not supported anymore in the newer version. So you will see that this table is there underscore HMRG, but this table is demoted. It's not supported anymore. This used to be used for, okay, you can see this table is there, HMRG, okay, and this HMXR table, I'm just showing you, okay, there is no table name HMXR. So this is just for backward compatibility. Just if they ask you an interview, you can explain that. Just remember the name of the table. And this was used for merging only. This used to contain additional information for the merges. And these two tables are very important tables, underscore MTCH table and STRP table. We are going to learn that in details. Just remember that STRP contains all the tokens, okay, all the tokens that are generated, STRP will contain that. And when the matching happens, the matching results will be stored in this underscore MTCH table. So these two tables are very, very important. These two tables are you don't need to use or learn them, but just remember that VCT and VXR are used for validation. Okay, XREF I already told you, HIST I already told you, HXREF. So
Yeah, Sunil, I'm sorry to interrupt. What is the difference between match table and HMRG?
Match table and HMRG. HMRG table contains history of all the merges. So let's say till now you had total 10,000 records were merged. So this will contain history of all the merges, and it's not a truncate load table. Okay, it's not a truncate load table. Match table is a truncate load table. So let's say today you processed 5,000 records, then it contains the history of the, it will contain the match pairs, what got matched with what. And when you run it for the second time, the old this table will be truncated, and again data will be loaded. So they serve different purpose, but yeah, they will look a bit similar because of their similarity, but they serve different purpose.
Okay.
Okay, and FHMA table I'll tell you later. Just remember that this is used, this is just an additional table for auditing, and this is normally, it's not used, not needed, not that meaningful, but this is just FHMA means it's just an auditing table. And when we go to the staging tables, there I'll tell you all these staging tables, but not now. Okay, so that's about the backend tables that were created, that gets created normally. Now let's go to the column properties and try to understand. Okay, before we go to the column properties, let's try to explore these properties, some of the important properties we have. Some properties you will understand, some properties you will understand later because some are advanced. This you already know, enable history. I'll just take the log ones. So enable history you already know by now, so this is optional. If you click on this, then a underscore HIST table will be created. That is just for auditing purpose, to track the base object changes. Any change that you do to the base object will be tracked there. And timeline, so timeline is version management. So timeline means, let me, there are many notepads. See, timeline is nothing but for people who already come from data warehousing background, right? So this is like SCD type 2, implementing slowly changing dimensions type 2. And by default, all the tables that you see, they are SCD type 1. So no, I mean, whatever comes is updated in the base object. Okay, you have a history table. Remember, do not get confused, because history table is a separate table. Okay, history table is a separate table, but slowly changing dimension, the concept is that the history versioning should be maintained in the same table. Okay, so history is different and timeline is different. They look, they'll be a bit confusing. Remember, the history is maintained in a separate table, whereas if you configure dynamic timeline, let's say if you configure dynamic timeline, then I'll just show you once. You see two options. First is history. Okay, history, and let's say if you want to enable dynamic timeline. Dynamic timeline means version management. So automatically this process is automatic. So if you just choose this, then what will happen is you will see that history will be automatically, you need to, I mean, it will be enabled. So history is mandatory for timeline, but remember that the difference between history and versioning is history is maintained in underscore HIST table. It's a separate table. Okay, whereas timeline is maintained in underscore XREF table. Remember this feature, the timeline prior to 971, this used to be maintained directly in the base object. Okay, but starting with newer versions, Informatica, what they have done is they have moved this feature to the cross reference table, that is BO underscore XREF table. So the timeline information, that is start date and end date, you understand what's timeline, it's start date and end date, all that. So that information will be maintained in the cross reference. So you should not get confused between enable history and timeline. But yes, when you want to enable timeline, history will be automatically enabled. Okay, so that's the feature.
So yeah, Sunil, is it going to refer like if you enable the timeline, history is enabling, right? Like, is it going to refer to the history table?
Yeah, that's correct. It's going to refer that. It's going to refer that, but the timeline will be maintained in here in the cross reference table. Okay, so the history is a separate thing and timeline is a separate thing, but yes, when you use this, it uses this feature. It depends upon this feature to provide this feature. And this is nothing but allow non-contiguous effective period is nothing but it will insert, if you select that, then it will insert a gap of 1 day. So let's say 4th July, and let's say the end date is 2nd September. Okay, so let's say this is the start date and this is the end date. So if you click on this, then it will insert a gap. So this will start with 3rd September instead of 2nd September, and end date will be null. So that's a thing. So it really does not.
Sunil?
Yeah.
Quick question here. So if you have one record and we have a newer version in the next load, so the newer version will have a new primary key or the system generated key. So will it be automatically updated by the hub?
Yeah, this process is completely automatic. All you need to is you need to just select this option, and the process of maintaining and creating both, creating this table and as well as maintaining this table is completely automatic. As well as this process is, there is no question about that you are not going to touch anything in the cross reference. This is completely automatic. Okay, here it's
Okay.
slightly manual in the sense the maintenance will be manual. So if you want to put something into that is automatic, but if you want to remove something, Informatica will not remove things automatically here, so you have to do it. But in here the removal process is also automatic.
So can we say we don't need testing for this functionality?
This is
Standard,
already
right?
built at the heart, so you don't need to test it. It's already at the
Okay.
heart of the process, so you don't need to be tested.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
And if you use dynamic timeline, can history will be maintained in both hist and cross reference. History will be maintained, yeah, you can say, yeah, history will be maintained in both will be a bit similar only. So that's why when you create the cross reference, I mean when you enable this timeline, so history is also enabled by default, but they are slightly different because this is stored in the hist is stored in the hist table, it's a separate table, whereas cross reference is stored in the cross reference table. Both structure of both the tables will be different. You will see there are some columns that are additional. No, data will not be 100% same, it will slightly differ, because there will be additional columns that will be there in both the tables that are not common. Most of the columns will be common, but not all. Non-contiguous period means, see, that's what, right? It will just insert a gap of a single day. Okay, it will just insert a gap if you are taking the taking it as a single day. I mean, if you have configured, then see, let's say if you do not say that, if you do not enable this, then what will happen is, let's say the first record was there in 4th July, and then the, okay, I'll put it this way: start date, date, and end date. Okay, the started and ended concept will be in the where cross reference table. Okay, so if you do not enable this, if you do not say allow non-contiguous periods, then what will happen is this will start immediately. So this will start with again 2nd September, and if you click on this, then a gap of 1 day is inserted. So that is very simple, and it's not really that important, I mean, option. It really does not matter much. Okay, and if you once you select this dynamic timeline, you will not be able to change that later. I mean, if you enable history, you can later disable it, but there's a problem with this dynamic timeline. If you enable it, then you cannot later remove that at your will. So that's a, you should be careful before enabling it.
Basically, allow non-continuous is it is going, if you check that option, it will take the next day.
Yeah, it will take the next day.
If you don't, then it will continue with the same day.
Yeah, it will continue with the same day. Allow complete tokenized ratio. You will not understand much what's a complete tokenized ratio, because that's related completely to matching. Anyway, I'll be again referring to that later, but just remember the definition. What it means is, um, complete tokenization ratio, what is the value? By default it will be 60. You can change that. I can make it 30, 40, or anything, any value that I like. Okay, so if I make that, see, normally in the architecture, what happens, let's say there are 10 million records are already there in your MDM. Now let's say you're getting 10,000 records today. So how the process will work, the 10,000 records will be loaded into the base object. Okay, and then those 10,000 records will be matched with the existing 10 million records, correct? 10,000 records, 10k records will be matched with 10 million records. 10 million records in MDM, and this is from the source. Guys, for those who are unable to hear me, I think my voice is fine only because people are able to hear, but you try to reconnect your mic. I think there might be a problem with that. So 10k source will be matched with 10 million. So I think there should not be any doubt here. I mean, you should be completely clear on this, that what I'm telling is I'm giving a very simple example. Already you have 10 million records in MDM, and when you get 10k records from the source, so this 10k will be matched with 10 million. Okay, now what happens when 10k records are matched with 10 million? This complete tokenization ratio, what it will do is, if say if this figure is 60, is it means if 60 percentage of the data, or you can say 60 percentage of um,
Daily delta.
daily, yeah, if you can say, you can say that if the total delta exceeds 60 percentage, that is 60 percentage of the total volume, then a full deduplication will be performed. Full deduplication means here 10k records will be matched with 10 million records. A full deduplication would mean that this is what full deduplication means. 10 million plus 10 million plus 10k records will be matched with each other. This is a very huge operation, okay?
Wow, it's the Cartesian kind of Cartesian product.
Yeah, it's a full deduplication. It's, you can say it's similar to Cartesian product. You will learn that later. But yes, this is a very huge operation. And this number, what it states, that if it is 60, then what will happen is this full deduplication will only happen if more than 6 million, in this case more than 6 million records are updated in this base object, then only this full deduplication will happen. Okay, so sometimes this, I mean, some people play around this to increase the performance. Sometimes depending upon the infrastructure, if you daily, if you're getting around 10k updates, and let's say you regularly change your match rules or something, then you should do full deduplication regularly. So then you might want to use it, but normally this would be kept to a high number only, because if this number is low and if it reaches that number, then this operation will be very expensive. It means if your volume is around 10 million or something, this will run for more than a day, this single job. So you should keep that as 60, that's default, until unless if your volume is very less and if you want to play around the performance tuning options, then you can change it, otherwise leave as it is.
So
Allow,
should we increase that value to above 60 or
no, I think above 60 you should not increase, because it's meaningless above 60, because if anyway, if 6 million records out of 10 million records are getting updated, right, then it's better to do a full deduplication. Even if it takes more time, still it's better to do a full deduplication. That will be much faster. Okay, so the concept
Yes,
is, yeah,
Sunil, I mean, if I mean, we don't normally get that much of records, and
yeah, that's
say,
what
for
I said.
example,
Normally, see, yeah, normally for a big corporation, you will have 10 million, 4 million, 3 million, 5 million stable records in MDM. And at max, you will get delta like stating varying from 10k to 20k for normally, but you might also get around 100k also. That's fine. Okay, but see, if you're getting
uh,
100k, doesn't mean that all of them will be like updates or useful information.
yeah, but like if I want to say, like if the records, incoming records are more than 20%, I don't want to process the data. I mean, before validating, is there a way to stop the process?
If
Because
your
I mean,
question is, if you are going to, let's say, 20 percentage of, let's say you have, okay, you have 10 million currently, so you are saying that if it is 2 million, yeah, if you're getting 2 million delta records, correct, then you don't want
no,
to
yeah,
process.
I see. I mean, I just want to validate before processing,
Yeah,
because that could be a mess up,
correct. So that
right?
is something where user exit comes into picture. You have to write a pre-stage user exit to implement this functionality.
Okay.
This is clearly mentioned in the user exit guide as well. To, if you want to manipulate anything related to the delta processing, for example, it's clearly there, this is the requirement what we are talking about. For example, restricting the delta to a certain number. If you want to do that, then you would have to
Okay.
do that using pre-staging user exit.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on. Anyway, this option I'll tell you later as well when we go to the matching. Yeah, this option you should understand. Allow constraints to be disabled. Allow constraints to be disabled is always clicked on by default. What it means is, for people who have worked in Power Center or in data stage ETL tools, there's a configuration that you do right normally in the preload. In the preload, you drop the index, and in post load, you recreate, or you can see you create the index. Why do we do it this way? Because inserting data, if there are indexes that are there in the table, then see, remember that if it takes 1 second to insert data into table, then normally it will take 5 to 10 seconds to insert data into index, because inserting data into a table is a very simple operation for a database, but inserting data into the index is a very huge performance drop down thing. The reason is, mathematical calculation has to be done. For example, if it's a, normally the indexes will be b tree or b plus tree indexes. Okay, so if you know the architecture of b tree and b plus tree indexes in Oracle or in any database, okay, so normal index is a b plus tree index. So the levels, the calculation, everything has to be done, and you simply cannot insert the data because you have to find the level and in which place the index value needs to be inserted. So to find that out, you have to do a mathematical, the database has to do a mathematical calculation. So if you want to insert data to an index in anywhere in the world, okay, I'm not talking about any in MDM or data warehouse, it is expensive. So the common technique what we normally follow is, if let's say you want to insert 100 customers, then you simply insert them, because that's fine. Even if it takes a bit of more time, that's fine. But what if the number grows? If I want to insert 10k, means 10,000 customers, then what I must do is I must drop and recreate the indexes. So I must drop and recreate the indexes, and if you click this, by default this is ticked on, it is enabled. It means indexes are automatically dropped, data is loaded. See, this is what happened: drop the index in the preload, okay, and then load data, okay, load the data, and then in the post load recreate the index. And this process in Power Center or in any other tool is manual, you have to mention that, but in MDM it's completely automatic. You do not have to write the drop index statement, create index statements. This is automatically taken care of. But the problem, there is only one problem. The problem is the indexes. If you want to create any additional index on the table, that must be created using this tool. You should not directly go to the database and say create index on, or create unique index on this table, this column. If you do that, then this tool does not have knowledge of that index. If you want to create any index, you go to the custom index setup here, you click on the plus symbol, and then you select all the columns, and then you add the index. Otherwise you would have to create some logic to manually drop those indexes that you have created manually outside of the MDM hub. That is normally not suggested. And this load batch size is an important parameter which impacts the load. What it means is, see, let's say you are getting 10k records every day. Let's assume that you are getting 10,000 or 10k records. Now let's say if I make this number as, this is 1 million, okay, you can check this, by default it is 1 million. I'll make this number as 1000. Now if I make this number as 1000, what will happen is load batch size, it means the load batch size is 1000. Load batch size means the total number of records that can be processed in a single stretch. You understand, right? It's like a commit interval in power center or in data stage. So it's like a commit interval. What's a commit interval? It's not exactly like commit interval, but you can, yes, you can compare this with the commit interval. Okay, so it means that in this case for 10,000k 10k records, because the maximum number of records that can be processed in a single stretch is 1000. So here how many cycles are needed? 10 cycles are needed. 10 cycles are needed to process the job. If I make this as 100, then here how many cycles are needed? 100 cycles are needed. What is a cycle? Cycle means it's see, this is completely internal. Internal means you do not have any control over this, especially in Informatica MDM. In this load size you do not have any control. In Siebel MDM, other MDM tools like Siebel MDM, you have full control. I mean, you have complete control over these cycles. You can change, manipulate, you can do anything on the cycles. But here in Informatica MDM, this cycle is completely internal. You will not be able to see that. But yes, what will happen is this will seriously impact the performance. Increasing and decreasing will seriously impact the performance. For example, if I make this as 1, what will happen? Tell me. If I make this as 1 for 10,000 times, 10k cycles, the job will run in 10k cycles. So in 10k times, or you can say 10k cycles or 10k time, the job is going to run. So what will happen? The performance of this will be very bad. So it means if I reduce the number, bad performance.
Sunil,
But
I mean, Sunil,
yeah, correct.
Sunil, this is Venkat here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, if you are changing the batch size, that is the one which is going to decide the cycles, right? So
Yeah, correct.
even if you have a full control on cycles, how does it matter?
That's what I'm telling you. What is the what is the point in reducing and increasing the number?
Yeah, you said civil MDM has got a full control on the cycles,
You can
right?
run
So,
individual batches. That's the full control means. For example, let's say the job runs in 10k cycle, so you can run the job for 5 cycles, 5k cycles, and then remaining cycles, 5k cycles, you can hang it, you can run it after 10 days also. So that is what full control means.
oh, okay.
So basically, if you reduce the number, the Informatica tries to write a huge log by sending every row and sending a commit statement to the database.
Yeah.
So that is the main reason the performance degrades.
Performance degrade, as well as every time, I mean, the more time you do it, right? Because for every time, for example, if you want to start your bike, right? So let's say if you use your auto start for 100 times, then that will really kill the battery. Okay, and if you auto start it once and then you do not restart your bike anytime in 1 hour and then you simply go, that will have very less load on the battery. So that's very simple, because when a cycle is started, the memory setup and all that initially has to be done, which will take time. So if you do it for more time, the more memory setup and the more load on the system. I'm exactly pinpointing it. What's the problem? If you reduce the number, it's bad performance. But the advantage, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? The advantage is the probability of job failure is less. So the job is never going to fail if you reduce the number. I mean the chances for. But if I make this number like this, what will happen? If you're getting this many rows, Informatica will try to process all this at once. Now what is the problem? The problem is the total memory that is needed to process these rows. If your system does not have that memory, your job is going to fail. So by decreasing the number, if you reduce the number, bad performance, but probability of failure is less, low probability failure. But increasing the number, it's the reverse. Okay, vice versa.
So, but even if you increase the number, it sends to the spool of the Oracle database, and until the commit statement is sent, it is still in the spool of
Yeah,
Oracle,
but
no?
if when it's sends to the spool, right, then it's going to slow down the operation. But for operations like sort merge, it cannot even spool. So when it needs operation like a sort
Yeah,
merge kind of
everything.
operation, both has to be on the memory parallelly. So it will throw an error, that out of memory error.
Okay, so this whole it will holds within the Informatica
Yeah,
memory until the
correct. Because
merge
for all,
happens.
some calculations you can spool it. That's fine, like lookup reference calculations. But normally the calculations will be similar to hash or sort merge, and that has to be there in the memory right away. Everything has to be there on the memory.
Okay. So here, informatical average is hash merge or round robin?
Hash.
Okay.
So reduce the number, increase. So now I think you already understood. So let's try to um, conclude this. What is the perfect size of this load batch size? The perfect size is 10% of delta volume. So you take an average of the delta volume. For example, today you are getting 5k records and tomorrow you get 10k records. It doesn't mean that today you'll keep 5k, tomorrow you'll keep like that. It's not like that. You calculate the average delta. Okay, average delta that you're getting. Let's say average delta you're getting it as 18k. Let's assume. Then you can keep this number as 1800. Okay, you can go and keep this as 1800. Okay, so that's the uh, perfect number. This is important from performance point of view as well as from interview point of view also, because this is an important parameter in tuning the performance. Yeah, that is what you do not have control over the cycles. Okay, so I already told you that you do not have control over the cycles. So there is no question about recovery, that you have to do it in power center, right? You have recover from a workflow from task, all that. Those kind of advanced things are not here in MDM. So you would
So
have to
for the initial load, I think we have to keep the defaults, I guess. Initial data load
initial
from
load
all the
you keep
source.
it a much larger size and later you can change it. See, if your system is able to take much load, right, you do not need to even reduce this number. You can keep this number high.
So this property changes can happen through the admin, or is it going to be migrated from the downstream systems?
It can
Because
directly
production we don't
happen.
have the
Yeah.
access.
In production, you would migrate these properties from the testing environment.
So it has to be set in the testing and then.
Testing environment, and then you have to migrate the properties here.
It can't
I
be done
can't.
on the production.
No, you should not do in the production. If it's a very small project, then you might want to, but normally you should not do anything in production change.
Is it? I mean, can we give a percentage load batch size instead of number?
No,
Batch
there's no
number.
percentage. It's only we have to give a number here.
Okay.
That's the restriction. This tool has a lot of restrictions, you will learn. Because a lot of people try to compare this tool with ETL, IDQ, Oracle data quality. So those tools are advanced tools. I mean, advanced in the sense they are advanced in their functionality. Okay, this tool is also very advanced, but this tool is advanced in its functionality, that is match and merge. So this tool is quite advanced if you check match and merge and trust configuration, but all these properties are not related to mostly match and merge. They are something out different. So that's why these are not, I mean that advanced. Okay, max.
Yeah, I noticed some bugs also this
Yeah,
evening.
there are many bugs. Not one
When
bug.
I created a relationship with a different table, I removed that and it removed the whole columns.
You remove the relationship. Okay, so if you remove that,
Yes,
what happened?
yeah. When I wrongly created, I accidentally selected the address table to the contact,
Hmm.
and I created the relationship, and I noticed that it is a wrong table. Then immediately I went and removed the relationship. It removed the party ID from the contact table.
party, yeah, that's correct. So yeah, that is another problem. Yeah, that.
So I had to remove all the columns and re-import them and then try to recreate the relationship with the party.
Yeah, you don't need, you just create the column otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, we can add it.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a small bug. I mean, there are many small bugs like that, because the problem is actually Informatica daily, every day they are, their main focus is on upgrading newer versions. So for example, this tool, I mean, this is version 10, right? So recently they just, I mean, 1 month back or so, they released another version 10.1. So basically they are, I mean, trying to market this product, that's fine, but this things happens normally when you do things in a hurry. I mean, these defects and bugs, so they are in very big hurry, I would say. I mean, I don't know what's the strategy. Basically it's marketing strategy. So from that point of view they are doing it, but yeah, that's still fine. I mean, you don't need to worry about bugs in a, when you're working for a project, because you will have access to like my support. So in my support you can go here. Recently they changed to network. There is network.informatica.com. There is nothing called as my support. So you can directly post your messages here, or you can directly, right? I mean, you can, I mean, if you work with Power Center or something, then you can raise a ticket also. Actually, I had authentication, but not now. You can also directly raise a ticket, but most of the issues you can, the bugs and all that, you can get it in the knowledge base. If there are any known bugs, then that will be there in the knowledge base. And there are many bugs actually. I mean, there are a lot of bugs, I would say. Anyway, so max elapsed match minutes. This you will not understand. Just remember that this is 20 minutes, the maximum time. I mean, if your match job for a particular row, if it runs for more than 20 minutes, then your job will fail. This is not practical, because normally this will never happen. I mean, it's not possible that a single match rule will take more than 20 minutes or so. So this is just for backward point of view. There are many things that you will see in this tool which are for backward compatibility, and they are not supported anymore. For example, this link style, it's for it's demoted. Starting with version 10, this functionality is demoted. Demoted means it's not supported anymore. You cannot select this, or you cannot use it. And for those people who have actually implemented this in earlier versions, they would have to switch to merge style. I'll tell you what was a link style later. And parallel degree is very simple for people who have worked in databases. If you know about queries, select asterisk from emp, let's say. Okay, so this is a normal query, and if you would have seen a query like this is called as hint. Okay, so this is the same as this query. Whatever result this will give, this will also give the same result, but this will run a bit faster, because the parallelism degree, by default this will be 1 and this will be 3, and I can change that to 10, and some people also keep it 16, not suggested, but anyway. So if you keep it 16, what will happen is 16 instances of Oracle will create 16 instances parallel to read this table. So definitely it will increase the performance, there's no doubt about that, but this will be only useful if the table is partitioned. If this table is partitioned, especially like a range partition, or like numerical partition, then this will, list partition or anything, then this will help it. But anyway, even if you blindly change the number, still it will increase the performance. So the same option, whatever you see here, the same feature is provided here as well. So if you make this number as, let's say, 16, so what Oracle will do, what these people MDM will do is, they will translate this normal query that you used to type, that is C underscore party, let's say, and sorry, instead of writing C underscore party, they will write this, they will give this hint. Okay, so now again, what
This
if I make this number as
this is
100?
helpful.
Yeah,
This is helpful for the inserts or updates, or
this is helpful especially when you're doing a full table scan something. Wherever the operation uses full table scan, then this is more useful. This is not really useful for insert, update, deletes. This
the
is,
full table scan is for the daily delta, when I mean with the tokenization concept.
yeah, especially if you're doing a full deduplication, or even in tokenization, whenever it's needed, then it might do a full table scan or a full
Yeah.
index range scan also. So in those cases, it might be useful.
Yeah,
Normally,
basically when you're giving a parallel hint, it tries to look for the right index and try to query that.
no, normally if you give a parallel index, it will try to influence the plan to do a full table scan, because parallelism is very useful for full table scan. With index, it will matter, but not really, because indexes again are a bottleneck, because it has to go through calculations and all that when you use index. But if you use a full table scan, it's drag and drop, so that becomes much faster.
Okay.
So this is the same option. So if, what if I keep this number as 100? So if you keep this number as 100, you will get a call from your DBA with your ID stating that you are killing the system. Okay. So, and if you make it 1, just 1 second. Okay, and if you make it 1, what will happen is the DBA will be happy, but your manager will not be happy, because your performance will be not that good. So what you do is you can make this number as 4 or 8 or 16 or something. You can, this is just an error and trial. Okay, I mean there's no fixed number how much load your system can take and all that. This depends from installation to installation, but from for safe side you can keep it 4 for performance point of view. Okay, I think we'll finish it off with on today's class, and these options we'll go through this, and once we are done with these options, then we'll move ahead with these options, where we'll learn the different trust and other configurations. What are these trust, unique, validation, what is GBID and all that. Okay, once we do that, then we have to move ahead to the staging table, all these properties in the staging table, what are all these properties. And once we move ahead to these properties and all that, right, then we'll move to the how to do the cleanse functions and mappings and all that, then we'll run the jobs.
Sunil, I cannot really configure this log me in Hamachi. How could I do that?
Okay, no problem. So you contact me after the class, and yeah, already like a lot of people requested the holidays. So tomorrow there will be no class because of Christmas holidays. And let me check. Can you see this date?
Yeah.
20. So 25th we don't have class. That is tomorrow we don't have class. 26th, 27th we don't have class because of Christmas holidays. We'll have class on 28th my timings. That will be like 27th your timing. That is fine, right? 27 your timing.
Should be fine, yeah.
Yeah. So 27 my time is fine.
That's
And
fine.
okay. And another leave will be on 31st your time. So 31st in yours means that is 1. So on Friday, right? You want leave on Friday. So we'll have also leave on
Yeah.
Friday. We'll also have leave. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 2 weekends. I think they are long weekends for you. Okay. So next weekend also Friday will be holiday.
Cool. So is there anything that we need to do for tomorrow class, practical?
Yeah, tomorrow class, what you do is you go through all of these properties once again. You try to understand these properties, and where you will get these properties, you will get these properties in the administration guide. Okay, you go through these properties, and if you have not completed this data model, then you try to complete this data model. And what you do is you practice more on the data modeling. That is, you try to create this data model as well. Okay, I have shared with you. You try to create this data model also, and so that you will be completely comfortable with the modeling class. Okay, and you parallelly, I don't, I think, are you going through these PPT sessions. You should have completed the till page number 27, from 1 to page number 27, from page number 1 to page number 27. I expect you to complete this before the next class. Okay.
Okay. Sunil, how much time, how many more classes are there? I mean, on an average?
On an average, actually we are going a bit slow. So see, I'll open the sheet. And there are many classes, in fact. I mean, we are just completed this 4 class till, I mean, these 4 topics. There are many topics.
Can I also share that the PPTs once again?
PPTs. You did not get the PPTs? Okay, anyway, I'll share it again with you.
And data model also. Can you
I
share
have
the data model?
yesterday I shared with everyone, right? This data model.
Okay.
But I don't.
Sunil,
I need to check.
in the recordings also. I had
Yeah,
requested a couple of times.
I think I shared recordings and everything with you yesterday. See, recordings I'll not be sharing daily. What I'm sharing is I'm sharing the folder. Okay. For example, I'll share the folder. So every day you will see that you will see updated information in the folder. Okay.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Sunil,
Yeah, Vamshi.
did you send the model Excel sheet?
Yeah, this is the Excel sheet I shared yesterday. I'm not sure why you didn't. I like all people did not receive it. I think that's what people are saying. But I shared this with everyone yesterday. Okay, no problem. I'll again share all these documents.
Sure. Am I in that email, or is that my
I
problem?
shared it via Google Drive. You check your mailbox once
Yeah,
again. I shared it via Google Drive.
yeah, I didn't get it, Sunil.
Oh, no problem. I'll share it again. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
And regarding the
just
recorded sessions, I already told you I'll not share daily. You check the folder every day. You'll see new folders,
Yeah.
new
Okay.
recorded sessions daily.
Sunil, I just want to confirm we don't have class tomorrow.
No, we don't have class
And
tomorrow.
okay, then the next class would be Sunday evening
For
US
you.
time and Monday morning India time, right?
Correct.
Okay, making sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Sunil.
Thanks, guys. And
Good luck.
happy Christmas to all.
You too.
Sunil, should I call you after this class or for the configuration of the match?